All right, we're back here at the NRG Legacy Open, and we've got a little bit left in round 6. So it's going to be for a few minutes, but we didn't want to deprive you of Honorog's presence for too much longer. So we're back on here.
You're too kind.
I am. I should be, coming up with all kinds of expletives to describe your shark deck, but instead we'll say nice things about you. I also want to talk more about recap what we've talked about for the new NRG series that's coming up. If you weren't here with us during the rest of the day. So far, we've had just one of events. This one, the one Honorog was a part of last month, and then some other formats previously. Starting next month, we're going to move into actually something more like a cohesive series here at NRG Online. We're going to run through December, and then hopefully, although understandably this is optimistic, we'll reconsider at that point whether we can go back into paper or see what else is going on. But in the meantime, starting on September 13th will be the first date. So if you're interested in playing Legacy with us again, that'll be the date of the next event. Following that up over the next few months, we are going to be interspersing modern and standard events, finishing up in December with a showdown event to culminate this brief series for the fall. Now, the showdown is not a championship in so many words because you don't have to qualify for it. It's an open event just like the others. But some of the things that our series is going to include are, so for the 5 trials is what we're calling them, starting with the Legacy one on September 13th, the winner of those events will receive free entry and a bye into the showdown event in December. Alongside that, the top 8 players in each of the trial events will receive entry into the arena qualifier weekend events, which is the same thing you get into for finishing a month ranked top 1200 in constructed or limited on Magic Arena. So this is another way especially for players of older constructed formats to get into the arena qualifier weekends, which is a direct path into the Pro Tour itself. So we're very happy about that. Additionally, let me look at my notes here.
That's some pretty sweet pricing,
right,
though.
Isn't it? Yeah.
The qualifications, and I think for me, I've been thinking a lot about just the future of Magic, given the current context and where we are with just COVID-19. I do really like this idea that we are transitioning slowly from paper to online. There is nothing that will replace flicking cards and stuff like that, but I do feel like with all the other esports out there, that online, there's a lot of potential for growth there, and a lot of potential for just having more of these kind of events to make Magic just a bigger, more wholesome, holistic product. I guess it's pretty great. I'm super stoked to hear about this announcement.
Yeah, for me, I love paper Magic, and I would be excited about getting back to playing in real events. But this is, whether this is the wave of the future or this is just what's tiding us over in the interim. Either way, this is good. This is big for us for the NRG series. We're really happy about it. We certainly are feeling the love from you at home as we more than doubled our attendance for today versus the last Legacy event we did, which is fantastic. Also want to mention that for our future events, including the one in September 13th, Card Hoarders partnered up with our series. So what they're offering is, if you want to play in the event next month on September 13th and you don't have a Legacy collection online or even a Magic Online account, I suppose, you could create an account. But if you don't have a Legacy deck, then Card Hoarder has created a weekend rental program for us, for players. If you play in our events, then you have access to it. For $10, you can get a 500 credit deck for the weekend from anytime starting on Friday. You register, you can take it on Friday, and you return it Monday morning. You can swap the cards in and out. You can play other formats if you want to on Saturday or Friday night, and then play with us Legacy or whatever format we're playing on Sunday, and then return the cards on Monday morning. You can swap the cards in and out as many times as you want on the weekend. And so we're happy to be able to offer that. I don't know how many players took advantage of that this weekend. I know it was something like a dozen a couple days ago had already signed up for it. So that's good. We're really happy about that, especially since we're aware that some of the cards, some of the formats are a little pricier to get into, especially if you just want to do it for a one-off event for yourself. And so we're happy that you're able to do that. Excuse Onrog there; he's rude. We know that. So that's great. So, and when we get to the top 8 tonight, there's a couple more features of the series that I'm going to reveal to you that we're very excited about. But in the meantime, Thanks for joining us and being with us here as we're waiting for round 7. We had something like 105 players today. Perhaps I can get confirmation on that. And we're expecting a number of winning in matches next round. We don't think it's going to be a clean cut by any means. So we should have some good matches for you with players playing for their top 8 entries for today.
Yeah, that's going to be super exciting. Yeah. I'm looking through a couple of the deck lists that we see right now, and I'm just like going into this round, I'm wondering what the metagame portfolio kind of looked like. Like at the top of the leaderboard, we see a couple Delver decks followed by Petra, who we just saw in the feature match. But the 4-1 bracket looks super, super, super diverse. I see Doomsday, I see lands and elves. I see, a little bit more Rug Delver. Okay, that makes sense. And even some copies of Snoko. There's one deck that caught my attention. It's a Jeskai control deck piloted by Zack Webb. I'm wondering if we can take a look at that at some point of time. But this is the one that has me all sorts of excited, just being a control enthusiast myself, looking at the way that people sort of tackle 2020 with respect to control, right? Because I mean, we could just go down this road for just a quick second. But you mentioned that you were trying some sort of like Legends control deck recently. You know, probably leveraging Uro. That pairs quite nicely with Caracas. So what did you end up on? What did you like about it, and why are you not still testing it? I guess.
Well, I was basically my old Legends build minus the miracles with some new stuff thrown in like Uro. And I enjoyed it, but because it was, I mean, I like playing with Venture and Caracas and, you know, Cavern and all that stuff. And it was a snow shell, but I got pulverized by some like higher level control decks that had like Punishing Fire, which I had no good answer to, and no clock really to race it. And so stuff like that, there was just stronger stuff out there, and I could retool that and, you know, maybe try and come up with ways to answer it, but then I tried Food Chain Goblins and that ship sailed, and now we're into that.
Fell in love, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like we're ready with the deck that NRG wanted to talk about, so let's take a look at it.
Bang, bang. Okay.
All right, so what strikes you about this? Well, I never mind. I already see why you're interested in, oh, you know what? Okay, there's something for everybody in here, because I actually played Rip Helm in a Grand Prix once. So take me through this. What do you like about this?
Shark Typhoon!
Yeah.
You can't see me, but I'm doing the Aloha sides. So that's the big one to me. But yeah, this is a really interesting take on Jeskai control, with Rug Delver being the top dog. You know, you mentioned something about playing this before. You probably know how good Rest in Peace is against Tarmogoyf, and it's also pretty good against cards like Dreadhorde Arcanist. Energy Field is also a tool that I'm pretty excited to see again. I haven't seen this in a hot second. I guess it scales in and out with the prevalence of cards like Abrupt Decay, but with Rug Delver being, quote, the top dog right now, I think this card is in prime position to, you know, put up a fight, put up a good stance here. This is, so in general, I guess if we like look macro archetype, this is a blue-white core deck that leverages the power of various enchantments to either prison your opponent out or generate advantage or just close the game out, right? So the obvious cards that we're looking at are the Rest in Peace Energy Field combo. So Rest in Peace, we know, you know, just exiles all graveyards, everything gets exiled, you know, instead of going to the graveyard. But Energy Field is a really interesting one that says prevent all damage dealt to you by creatures you control, and then when a card is put into the graveyard, you sacrifice Energy Field. Now, because of the Rest in Peace that'll be in play when you deploy Energy Field, cards don't get to go to the graveyard. So what's actually happening is you've got this hard lock where you can't take any damage. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. I think Planeswalkers might still be vulnerable.
They do, and that's one aspect of why I'm kind of surprised to see all these Planeswalkers alongside it, because they are still vulnerable. But yeah, Rest in Peace Energy Field, game 1, maybe even Cyborg games as well against a lot of builds of Rug Delver, but game 1, you're impenetrable. They cannot kill you. And then you're at your leisure to eventually assemble Helm of Obedience and kill them. And so when I played this, it was several years ago, and one problem is that theoretically, and even more so if they saw your deck list, the Rug Delver could allow you to assemble your shell of Rest in Peace Energy Field, and then all they had to do was save all their counters for your Helm of Obedience, and you would just be decked. As long as you fetched or cantripped more than they did, you couldn't do anything about it, because they're going to have more counters than you do often, and then with the 2 Helms counter, you're just done. You have nothing else. Now, Teferi Time Raveler changes that somewhat, but Honorog's stupid card actually changes it a great deal because
Yay!
you have an uncounterable win condition. That's actually really significant. And so that would, I mean, with, Recipe's Energy Field, I mean, you could just draw cards until you could make, 7/7 sharks probably? And then, so it would take 3 bolts, and then the second shark, the second time you did, they wouldn't be capable of killing it, and that would be it. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty good. I like that too. I mean, but you still have like a lot of the stock elements in the deck. So for example, we see cards like Blood Moon, Detention Sphere. What else are we looking at? Let's see. So Helm of Obedience is a pretty good one, combines pretty nicely with Rest in Peace to just end the game on the spot. Enlightened Tutor is a pretty sick card to put in this deck as it gives you sort of that toolbox effect. You play towards a certain situation and bam, top deck Blood Moon would be great. Sure, I'll just Enlightened Tutor for it. Or, maybe I'm being attacked by a bunch of creatures and I have one half of the field Rest in Peace combo, bam, tutor for the other half, and then, lock up the game that way. I do. Going back to the Planeswalkers, you did mention that Shark Typhoon does a good job closing the game, but it also does a good job, protecting the Planeswalkers to a degree. I like that we're not like all in on the Planeswalkers. A lot of them are pretty powerful in and of themselves, right? Like Jace the Mind Sculptor, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. These are cards that can, if left unchecked, can take over games very quickly, very mercilessly. So I guess I could see like what the power level is. Like at the end of the day, like you don't want to be too all in on this kind of combo where you rely on a couple cards coming together. You do want to have some card draw. So I absolutely do respect the choice to include some of these. And then, another thing that I really do like about the deck is the Hall of Heliod's Generosity, which you can pair alongside a couple of your enchantments. Let's say things go south and a Rest in Peace does, get removed from the field. Well, then you can just keep making sharks every turn. Like, what's better than one shark, Joe?
Yeah,
Infinite sharks. Let's go.
Yeah, the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I had not seen that card activate yet, but I did see it play against me, and I was wondering, like, why is this in the deck? I don't even understand. And then I realized much later on that it's for Shark Typhoon. Yeah. But yeah, that is a very cool combination. There are some things in this deck I don't love. One problem I found with the deck is that because the deck doesn't really generate any card advantage at all, that there are 6 forces in this deck, and it's tough to support that in this shell of cards because there's just not really card advantage going on. You just have your cantrips. You have a couple Planeswalkers that can give you some extra cards, but I don't know. I feel like I would rather have the same problem with the Enlightened Tutors. It's a card disadvantage aspect, and if it wins you the game, that's great. But if it doesn't, it's tough to keep up.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying for sure. And I think, I don't know, so like the tutors being card disadvantage is kind of a big deal. I feel like one of the ways that you can make up for that kind of is just by having these heavy hitters that will absolutely end the game, right? So for example, if you're playing against like Dark Depth strategies, right? In game 1, you tutor for Blood Moon. That's like the silver bullet that is lights out. Pretty happy about that. Looking at the sideboard, it looks like we do diversify a little bit with a couple other cards. We see a bunch of singletons that we can presumably tutor for, like Humility, Seal of Cleansing, and Deafening Silence. Those are all pretty powerful. I like those Monastery Mentors, though. How do you feel about that?
So I know you like Monastery Mentors, and I was going to say I like Humility. I'm a big fan of Humility. I actually had Humility in main deck in my version of this deck, and I also had the other Jace. The Jace...
Architect of Thought. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say I'm going to disrespect Jace by forgetting that mode of his existence. Jace, Architect of Thought, which combined with Humility is another way to lock out creatures for the whole game.
Oh, that's actually a really pretty good point. Yeah, too. And then like I guess at some point you can like ultimate it and then get some sort of win condition or like I don't even know, whatever it is.
So what you could do also, like I was talking about how being able to run out of win conditions, you can get whatever win conditions in their deck.
Ooh, that's true. That's creative. Why make me do the work when my opponent can do it for me? I get that.
But yeah, it gets around one of the weaknesses of the Rip Helm. Of the Energy Field Rest in Peace combo is that Planeswalkers are vulnerable, whereas the Jace Architect can protect itself with Humility in play. There's a whole mess of stuff going on. It wasn't that good. I do really see how Shark Typhoon can make a difference here and really help out the deck. For
sure, yeah. I'm thinking I do like the Monastery Mentor as sort of like a plan B, the transitional sideboard kind of deal. That's one of the reasons why the card was so good in old Miracles is because people would, you have to juggle between having removal for enchantments and stack-based answers for enchantments, and then suddenly you have to keep in Swords to Plowshares and Lightning Bolt for Monastery Mentor, and you just get strained a lot. And so I think it's pretty powerful to have that sort of plan B. Other couple cool cards include Palace Jailer and Narset Parter of Veils. I could get behind the Palace Jailer when you combine it with Energy Field and Rest in Peace. The Monarchy, does it work by, how does it work? You have to deal combat damage?
You have to deal combat damage to the other player, yeah.
Okay,
so,
yeah. So
I think you'd be protected from that with Palace Jailer.
Okay, that's pretty good. I do like that.
Yeah.
Going back to humility, it was a dark time for me. Okay, I'm going to preface it by saying it was a dark time for me. But I had a deck list. One of my earliest iterations of Snow was it involved humility, it involved Oko, and it involved Karn, the great creator.
Let's bring it back to the booth here so I can see Onrar's face as he tells me about this disastrous mess of a deck he's talking about here.
I mean, I'm just going to be extremely giddy and excited about it. Yes. It's great. And I had there is nothing better than getting liquid metal coating into play off card, animating your humility, elking it, and then just beating in for 4. Or sorry, maybe I used Karn's uptick to animate it after it was an artifact, and I just like attacked for 4 every turn while my opponent had a board full of like 1/1s. It's incredible. There's no high that I've gotten off of that outside of maybe like getting like a 5-for-1 off Terminus back in the day. But
it's a shame that my default position is looking at the camera, so that I can't be looking away and then look at the camera when you go like and just like sigh like depressedly. I know what you're saying. It's not effective when I'm looking at the camera in the first place. But okay, that sounded like a convoluted disaster.
Absolutely. It got to the point, I remember I was playing in one of like a Grand Prix trial or something like that because I just like, all right, whatever, I've got my buys. Maybe it wasn't a trial. I don't know. I was playing in some event. The judge came over, looked, walked away, and I was just like, wait a minute. No, come back, please. I need you. Came back with the camera and immediately tweeted the board state, which was just ridiculously complicated. So many like different things going on. But it was exciting. I have retired that in favor of other strategies. But Karn Humility Oko makes for, I guess, ? Fun.
Yeah, maybe for you, maybe not for other players, your opponents, anybody watching, coverage people, anyone else in the building, really. Plus, I'm sure it was slow, so you held up the whole tournament.
Ooh, it was glacially slow, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, that's the best part about control decks, Joe. You get to play so much more Magic than everybody else.
Okay, so we're going to take a break real quick, and then we're going to be up and ready with round 7 when we get right back. So just a minute, and you'll see us again.
The NRG series is brought to you by Card Hoarder. Card Hoarder is Magic Online's premier source for online singles. Take advantage of their loan program so you can always play the hottest Tier 1 deck. Borrow from their huge inventory of Magic Online cards for a low weekly fee with no hassle delivery and returns. You can try out their loan program today with a free 5-ticket loan account. Get more information about Magic Online's top source for cards at cardhoarder.com. Looking for some inspiration for your next deck? Check out the top performing deck list from today's tournament at nerdragegaming.com. You can also take a look at our coverage archives, metagame breakdowns, deck lists from previous events, and more. nerdragegaming.com is the exclusive home for everything NRG series. The NRG series is brought to you by KMC Sleeves. KMC is your go-to source for Magic sleeves, perfect fits, and storage boxes. They're rated the best overall sleeve brand by Tolarian Community College, and each purchase comes with a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. Shop online at kmcsleeves.com or nerdragegaming.com and get yourself the best sleeves on the market today. nerdragegaming.com is the place to get your hands on all the hottest Magic singles. Browse our full selection of staples from every format and shop an exclusive inventory you won't find anywhere else. Shop regularly and get rewarded for each purchase with our customer rewards program. Automatically earn store credit each time you shop and work your way up to 10% back on all orders. Be sure to use the code STAYHOME for free shipping. All this and more at Nerd Rage.
Okay, we're back, and we're moving into round 7, the last round of Swiss of our Legacy Open event. Our last event that's not actually part of our series, but stick around next month, September 13th. Well, I was going to say it's a Sunday, but I actually don't know about that for sure. A first event of our series, which actually was also Legacy, so hopefully you'll be here for that also, or playing in the event. In the meantime, Honorog's here. I'm not sure why he's not playing in the event, but he's here working, and that's great too. Hopefully, you guys have probably heard all you need to know about sharks, but
Shark fact.
We're going to look at our decks for our first match of round 7. So let's go ahead and bring up. We have Sam Dams playing Bant Infect, a deck we have not seen today, and a deck that I don't think sees as much play in Legacy as it. Well, I was going to say it doesn't see as much play anymore, but maybe more accurate to say that there was a stretch of time where it saw a lot of play, and then before and after that, it has not been a big part of the metagame. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And Sam, I think, is one of the more veteran Infect players, a.k.a. the legendary Fenris Cloud. I've played against them a number of times, and they know this deck like the back of their hands. So it's going to be pretty exciting to look at this deck and look at all the minute details. You know, like Infect is one of those decks that you see just a smattering of one-ofs, and that comes with just a lot of like tweaking and tuning and playing. Like if you remember back in the day when, you know, Tom Ross used to play a lot of Infect, he had like the one of Stifle, for example, that, you know, was just like terrifying, you know. I'm kind of curious, what do you like about this deck? And the white is for what exactly? Question mark?
The white is just for Swords of Plowshares in the sideboard and Rest in Peace. It's not in the main deck. But yeah, so what I like about Infect is really just the fact that the card Invigorate is so powerful in this deck and virtually unplayable anywhere else, but it's great here. What stands out to me is that there's one copy of Oko. I feel like I've seen lists that had more than that, or maybe that was in Modern, but I think I've seen it in Legacy with more copies of Oko. But anyway, as a kind of an alternate win. But yeah, we're all in on Infect creatures, pump spells, and I think I would say that over the evolution of Infect, over the last, let's say, stretched out to like 5 or 6 years, there are fewer pump spells played than there were in the past. At least that's the way it looks to me. But yeah, all our creatures do effectively double their printed damage because of the Infect mechanic. And it's a way to catch, you know, an unsuspecting opponent, really finish them off very quickly. This deck can easily win maybe not easily, but it can win on turn 2 with multiple different combinations of pump spells. And then as the game goes on, we have unblockable threats. I mean, evasion's good. And we have this one Oko just kind of standing out as like, hey, if this comes up, you can't sideboard against me because I'm only by myself, and yet I can be a real nuisance.
Yeah, let's see what Sam is playing against in this final round of the Swiss tournament. He's playing against Andrew on Sneak and Show, who we saw last round just completely decimate his Miracles opponent. And looking at the list closely again, we get to see that this is a Show and Tell / Sneak and Show deck. We're trying to get big creatures into play really fast. We've also got Omniscience, I believe, in the deck to combine with Cunning Wish to have access to a bunch of cards in our sideboard, and instant speed kill potentially in the form of Fire Mind's Foresight for Release the Ants eventually. This is going to be really close. If you had to pick one side or the other, what side would you want going in? Who do you think is favored to clinch that top 8 spot?
I think I'd rather be on the Sneak and Show side.
Okay.
Because I mean, both sides basically have the same, you know, disruption. I mean, Sneak and Show, obviously, the players have to be used to fighting against opposing counters because that's, you know, 2/3 of the format every time you play. But we're looking at, the Infect creatures can create a pretty significant clock. But I don't know. I feel like because of the threats that you present, it's not like they can keep. If both players just Goldfish, I think Sneak and Show wins. So Infect has to make sure they have defensive capabilities, and that might mean mulling a hand that, like, can you keep a turn 3 kill with no counters if you're the Infect player? I don't think you can. So I think I'm going to favor the Sneak and Show side, but I agree that it's going to be close.
Okay, and it looks like we are into the game now. Who's on the play? It looks like the Sneak and Show player has won the die roll, so they're going to be playing first. How do you feel about the 7 from the Infect side?
I think there's no chance we're keeping this. We don't have an Infect creature. We don't have a hard counter. I would like to have both, but at least one of those things.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, the fact that there's no selection in the form of like Brainstorm or Ponder,
this hand is
too slow.
Nothing. Yeah, this hand is nothing. My favorite memory of Infect decks was several years ago. It's actually on camera, an SEG event where owner of Nerd Rage, Norman Cohen's son, was playing in Win It In for the top 8 of an Open against Infect and got absolutely blown to shreds by Teferi's response.
Oh my gosh.
After thought seizing and seeing it in hand, reading the card 3 times, asking for the Oracle text in the card to read it again, and then misunderstanding it.
Did he wasteland the Inkmoth Nexus?
He went for a kill on a Nexus, which was saved by Teferi's response, which simultaneously drew the required cards to allow for a pump spell kill on the next turn.
Oh my god.
It was quite bad.
Yeah.
If Noah had in fact just not done anything, he would have won.
That's crazy. That's hilarious, actually. This 6 by Fenris Cloud is going to be much stronger here. We have the turn 1 threat. We've got very, very fast aggression here. We've got 2 Invigorates, which is going to be pretty good. And we've also got a Spell Pierce and a Force of Will. So if we draw another blue card, I'd have to say that this is one of those like super deadly hands that just goes for the throat super, super fast.
Even let it be known. Yeah, this is a turn 3 kill here with a counter backup. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Let it be known that the Sneak and Show player did mulligan to 6 as well, so that sort of evens the odds here. I do like fetching the Volcanic Island. We see that there's only 1 Wasteland in the Infect deck, and typically speaking, I bet the 1 Wasteland is kind of like a utility thing more than anything else. Sometimes you can snipe someone off a color, but maybe for other reasons you keep it in. Drawing a land there is not the best. But hopefully we can pick up a blue card on the next turn. And, ooh, now this is interesting. How do you feel about firing off the Invigorates right now?
I have no problem with it. Maybe one of them catches a counter, I suppose, which is maybe what you're hoping for. But if the counter's drawn this turn, then by playing them earlier, you avoid that possibility and still get your kill locked in.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And now this is super interesting, too. We're going to play Forcible, pitching the Spell Pierce here, which might be playing around opposing Spell Pierces. That's pretty good for us. And our opponent is in a window where they have to have exactly, Force of Will and a blue card now, and a creature as well, additionally?
Well, looks like they've got Omniscience got pitched. No, yeah. Okay, so this is all on the Sneak Show player. What do you have?
Yeah, and it's a Gristlebrand. Now, that one's kind of scary, but can this Gristlebrand... It can't attack just yet. We're going to have to use our life total to draw a bunch of cards, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, no, I think it'll be able to attack next turn, no problem. As with the number of cards that Sneak Show is going to pick up this turn, there's probably going to be potential to recombo in some other way next turn, or at the very least, I guess... Well, they're at 9 effects, so they do actually have to put something in the way. It can't just be counters. Counters aren't going to do anything.
Right. And that's a good reason for using the Invigorates earlier rather than later. We see slight optimizations. What I'm kind of curious about is to see if there are any ways in game 1 that potentially Sam is going to have to take down the Gristlebrand. But I think all the removal spells like Swords to Plowshares and Teferi are all on the sideboard. Drawing an Oko is not too bad, but Blighted Agent is also a sick pickup here.
Yeah, even against all the counters, though, Oko would have been questionable. Although Blighted Agent resolved, so I guess Teferi would have. Drawing, if there isn't a Caracas in the deck, that would have been a pretty sick draw. But I don't know that there's one there.
Yeah, I don't see one in the main deck.
Okay, so we are gonna need an additional combo element here, as this Blighted Agent will win the game.
Yep. And sneak attack is that element, and it's probably going to put a giant bowl of spaghetti into play right about now.
Yep, there it is for the 22-point attack that also clears your board. And that is going to take down game 1 for Sneak Show. So a matchup where, according to the chat, Infect is pretty heavily favored in the matchup, which I wasn't aware of, but I can believe. But it goes against type in game 1. And Infect will have to look to the board for some help here, and they're going to find... Okay. Interesting. Flusterstorm is great, definitely. I like the Allosaurus Shepherd, not in this matchup, but I like that it's there. That's kind of cool. Force of Vigor, I'm not excited about particularly.
Yeah, it's not the best all the time, but I definitely do think that being able to pick up, a vulnerable sneak attack, like maybe where the opponent's mana is a little bit stressed by cards like Spell Pierce and Daze, so they, they'll you can like daze a sneak attack if they have 5 mana, and then they have to tap out, and then you can like maybe get kill it with the Force of Vigor that way. Mm-hmm. It might be better than the cards that we're cutting out, like the Inkmoth Nexuses and the Okos, for example. I mean, in this matchup, I think we really just rely on the power of turn 1 Glistener Elf to put the fear in our opponent.
I guess. I'm surprised to see. I mean, I don't play this deck. I'm surprised to see Nexus going out. I'm surprised to see Forest. Can we bring up the Singing Show deck list again so we can see what they have in the sideboard? Because it might make more sense to have Force of Vigor based on what we see here.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a wish board, so there aren't going to be any defense grids or anything like that coming in. Mm-hmm. So it must just be for the raw value of killing a sneak attack. Yeah, which is kind of you played to what you got, right? Like if you can interact in some way over a card like Inkmoth Nexus, which might not necessarily do enough, then you bring it in, right? The goal here is to make sure absolutely that we do not die. And we also have such a fast of a clock that if we're able to slow down our opponent with cards like Force of Vigor, potentially, we can maybe just sneak a win in. Like game 1 we saw was just a variation of the die roll. If Sam was on the play, I think he just had the game locked up there, right? He'd get that extra point of Infect in.
Yeah. So are you boarding all your removal here if you're a Sneaking Show? And by all, what I'm particularly interested in is, do you actually board in Release the Ants? It kills everything.
Ooh, it does, but I feel like if we're bringing in Release the Ants, do we have we do have Intuition, but that doesn't do anything. No, I just think we have to hope for Pyroclasm, Echoing Truth, and the Pyroblast / Lightning Bolt to do the job here. Yeah. Release the Ants is kind of just too important as the combo kill with Omniscience that you just have to keep it in the sideboard. So for anyone who is new, the way this card works is it deals 1 damage, and then you clash with the opponent. If you reveal, so both players will reveal the top card of their deck. If you reveal a card that has a higher CMC than the card that your opponent reveals, you get to keep the Release the Ends. So what you generally speaking will do is you'll put maybe like an Emrakul or Omniscience on top of your deck, and then just reveal a 10-drop while your opponent, has whatever.
I'll take you one step further, though. If you were to board in, and I'm just kind of running with this because it's fun, not because it's necessarily happened. If you board in the Release Advance, you can still find it with Firemind's Foresight, so you could still combo out.
Ooh, that's okay. You've got me there. It looks like Infect is going to mull to 5, and Sneak and Show has mulligan to 6 here. Mm-hmm. This is an extremely explosive hand, right. And while it is a little bit vulnerable to a fast combo from the Sneak and Show perspective.
Oh no, and there's a force. Yeah, so this was a turn 3 kill on a mull to 5.
Yeah.
Barring any opposition. And the Glistener Elf gets countered, and now it's just a pile of nothing.
Right. So this is definitely one of the vulnerabilities for the Infect deck, which is they are kind of an A+B deck as well, in the sense that the creatures must connect with the pump spells in order to deal the relevant amount of damage. This top deck Daze is so brutal because it would have been so much better than this Force of Will.
Yeah. So, boy, this is tough. And with down, I think 3, Nexus got boarded out. So we're really shy on winning conditions here.
We are for sure.
I don't want to say that I don't want to criticize the Infect player, but it's interesting that Nexus got boarded out because Nexus is a mana source as well as a win condition. Hierarch is a mana source and an enabler kind of it pumps. I wonder if we could have, is there enough colored mana in the deck that we could have left in the Nexus and taken out the Hierarchs instead?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I guess it's kind of on the sense that speed, right? You know what I'm saying? Like Noble Hierarch is definitely like one of your best starts in the deck. Mm-hmm. Inkmoth Nexus needs a whole turn to
right.
It can't like attack or block or too well. It's slower, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Now this is good. Show and Tell is going to get countered by the Daze potentially.
I mean, if we mull to 6 and have double force on Show and Tell on turn 3, that's pretty stunning. but it definitely could happen. There's thought happening here. This isn't just resolving.
Mm-hmm.
Which does that suggest there's a blue card and then a force and 2 blue cards? Because yeah, there's the force part.
Wow. Force of Will pitching Brainstorm. Maybe this will just be like a naked Omniscience? But Tropical Island is going to come back into play here. Do we have the last piece?
No, we do not. It was just a Brainstorm to try and find stuff if it resolved.
Okay.
And we found the last Inkmoth Nexus.
Dang. Okay. This is a beautiful artwork, by the way.
It wins the game next turn.
Oh, it does. You're right.
Yeah.
Wait, this is incredible. And also just keeping in mind here, this Omniscience by itself, if we had top deck a Force of Vigor as well, that would have been pretty clutch too.
So a Ponder off the top. So we've got 4 cards to look at for a reroll or for a creature, but this Nexus is looming.
I can imagine Sam is just saying shuffle, 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 but it's not. Right. Ponder, no shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
God, this is tense. This is really tense.
I'm just laser focused in on the screen here, trying to see what happens. The removal spells won't. I guess Kozilek's Return would cut it. Would you keep on the Ponder for Kozilek's Return? I suppose you would.
I don't even know if I saw. Oh, if we boarded that one in, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Pyroclasm would not do it. But I'm trying to think of what could you have kept that doesn't just win the game, because obviously it's not a creature, but we kept something.
Maybe it was a counter spell, but a counter spell doesn't seem good enough in this situation.
I feel like it cannot be a counter, because if it was a counter, it would have to be other cards alongside it.
Yeah,
like in the stack, and you wouldn't like keep land counter, and so we would have then shuffled. So interesting.
It's really terrifying, and also like Kozilek's Return does get beat by Sam's hand right now in response to the first invigorate. Right. Yeah, you just invigorate again, and that would be lethal. So this is really close. What's got me going is that Andrew didn't immediately slam the card that he drew. Oh wow.
Okay, so it's Cunning Wish. So this Cunning Wish for Fireman's Foresight will likely wrap the game up right here, as that's generally how it works. Waiting until the upkeep, I guess there's no point one way or the other. Although, if you end up at a spot where, Infect brainstorms during the end of your turn, then you could wish, and they'd be a card down, and that would be better. But
okay, tight play.
Yeah, a wish for Fireman's Foresight, and if you don't know that card, it's not surprising if you actually played this deck, because no other deck's playing this card. 7 mana, tutor for a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop, all instants from your deck, and put them all in your hand. So we're going to... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, what cards do you get here if you're Andrew? Looks like Impulse is one of them.
Right. Impulse is there's generally a 2-drop thrown in. The 2-drop's not really necessary, but there's one in the deck so that you can get it. Sometimes it's been Impulse in this case, and that's commonly what it is. But the big cards are usually another copy of Cunning Wish, which can get Release the Ants. And then, in this case, I think we went Impulse Brainstorm, so we just need to find an expensive card to leave on top of the deck so that the Release the Ants is protected from the clash.
Right.
And then win the game.
So is there a chance here that maybe Sam can pull it out? I mean, we didn't really see too many...
I think there is, because we know there wasn't already a creature in hand, because if there was, it would have been played.
Yeah.
So we have to look at 7 cards there to find the other Omniscience, Sneak Attack. A Brainstorm works if there's a land on top of the Infect deck, but neither of the players know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah.
So we're just going to wish probably for Release the Ants. It's interesting that this actually doesn't work if the Release the Ants gets blown up by a high cost spell.
Yeah. So there's definitely a little bit of like diciness here. I'm trying to see what expensive spells Sam might have in postboard, but I don't think there's anything particularly interesting. Maybe the highest that we see is like a Force of Will or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think the difference. Because Become Immense is the most expensive one, I think, at 6.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But so I guess that wins if the highest card is the Force of Will on the other side.
Now this is interesting. So before we get I like this play a lot. This is going to play around getting the Release the End so that the Inkmoth Nexus can't die.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I don't know if there's any reason to cast a second one. Well, I guess you don't, in case they get a counter. Sure. Okay. fire off the second one, and yeah, bizarre. No, it's still not a kill because even if it's going to fail, you could kill the Hierarch and then it'll only be an attack for 9. But I still think it's fine to do this. And
I guess the Hierarch is going to die no matter what, so you're limited to.
Okay, release the ants, fire it off.
And
what do we have?
Clash.
Okay, Emrakul beats everything.
Yeah, all right.
And that's it. That'll be 18 to the face, and if you want 9 to the Nexus and 1 to the Hierarch, you can clean up the whole board.
Yep.
And so because of the Clash, yeah, if it had been a Force of Will, the Infect would have effectively a scribe for 17 to try and find the Become events to end the loop. I actually don't remember if you have to win or you just have to tie to break it up.
I think you have to. I think tying is fine. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We probably won't, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. So Sneaking Show takes that one down and advances most likely. I assume this was a win and in for top 8. So Sneaking Show's in. I believe we have a couple win and in matches playing this round. So hopefully we can bring you another one.
Yeah.
In the meantime, did we see a fluke there, or was that a realistic outcome, do you think? I mean, there was a lot of mulligans, so that definitely throws off the actual results, but...
Yeah, that's a good question. And as we get into the backup match, I guess my thought is that just despite like a matchup being favored towards one deck over another, that doesn't always guarantee that you're going to win, right? This is Magic after all, and variance happens time to time. And we did see that Sam mulliganed to 5, so that also plays a part in it. But
and that's kind of what I was asking. Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking, because it's we saw the Infect mull a bunch and lose, but that doesn't mean it's respective of how it would normally happen given 100 or 1,000 matches. So here, we have here in game 2 of Jeskai Helm versus Elves. And do we know Jeskai's up a game? Okay, that's what I need to know. So Jeskai's up a game here.
Okay, I wonder if Elves even has a way to beat Rest in Peace Helm in game 1.
Oh well, this is in game 1. Well, we look at the list. If there's a if there's a Reclamation Sage, that breaks it up, and it's a tutorable, recursive card that could actually break up both pieces. Yeah.
Well, it looks like the Elves player has assembled the dirty Wirewood Symbiote Elvish Visionary combo. Elvish Visionary often lauded as the green Gristlebrand of sorts. I often joke that Elves players are disgusting and they want only one thing, and that is to just draw their entire deck with this combo. It's pretty ridiculous the number of cards that you can pick up using these. All the shenanigans that the Elvish tribe has at risk. So Elvish Visionary, just a 1 and a green cycler, but it does have the keyword elf on it, tribal synergies. So right now, analyzing the board state, it looks like a Thoughtseize was able to take a Critical Swords to Plowshares, which could go after maybe a Symbiote. It's important not to target the Elves on this board because Symbiote can return any elf on the board once per turn in order to untap another creature. And so it's part of the cost. So there's not really a good way to respond to that. So generally speaking, it's like a shield almost for whatever elves you have in play. That being said, Zack does have the Rest in Peace Helm combo, Energy Field combo in play. So he's not going to be taking any damage anytime soon.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
But here is an Assassin's Trophy, and it gets forced. Fishing Supreme Verdict. Okay, so we're going to maintain parity of where we're at.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy, too, because I'm looking at Adam's deck list, and he doesn't actually have any copies of Abrupt Decay in the 75, just 2 copies of Assassin's Trophies. So actually, that top deck Force of Will was just nuts in this scenario.
There's no Reclamation Sage either?
I do not see one off the top, but I'll get back to you with in just a second. Yeah.
Well, if there isn't, then, and you're reading that correctly, then we're on a 1-outer.
That is true, and that is kind of a tricky situation to be in. And also really interesting is that Adam's deck has 3 copies of Allosaurus Shepherd in it. But even as powerful as this card is if you can't deal damage, it functionally doesn't do anything, right? And it looks like.
Well, it makes is it green creatures or green cards are uncounterable? It's cards, correct?
Cards, yeah.
Yeah, so we could turn our other Assassin's Trophy if we draw it into an uncounterable Abrupt Decay effectively. So that would still matter. However, the 4th land was just drawn, which means the time to draw the remaining Assassin's Trophy is right now.
Yeah, and if you don't, then
then
Zack gets to untap and target you with the Helm of Obedience. And so going into this combo a little bit, Rest in Peace again, we know exiles, keeps everything exiled from the graveyard. Helm of Obedience is a interesting card. It says pay X and then tap it. You target an opponent. They mill cards equal to, what is it? They mill X cards until you hit a creature.
Right. You mill X or stop when you hit a creature. And because of the old wording of the card, it's mill into graveyard. So if you can't mill into the graveyard, it doesn't count as a mill, and so you just keep going.
Okay, I see.
But to preempt that conversation, sorry, I feel like I cut you off there. Julian, who has joined the chat after taking his turn doing commentary this morning, has pointed out that it's not just the Assassin's Trophy. Also, drawing a Glimpse of Nature potentially would allow drawing the deck into Assassin's Trophy.
Okay.
Which could also win the game.
Yeah, I hear it right now. And we'll see if, at this point, we've got so many creatures in play, and we also have Gaia's Cradle. I don't think Adam has made a land drop this turn. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I do not think so. And also, we have the 2 symbiotes. So there are a number of cards that can be drawn here. However, no fizzling is allowed here. You need to go all the way, because as soon as the Jeskai deck untaps, the game will end. Yeah.
Yep, that is absolutely true. And I feel like at this point it even just comes down to if you find Assassin's Trophy, you're probably also going to be able to find Craterhoof or a way to get to Craterhoof along the way. So you probably just go after the energy field and attack for lethal on this turn.
Yeah, no, I agree. This game is going to end this turn one way or the other.
Yeah. One interesting thing, and this is just like an observation on how the Elves deck has sort of evolved. There's a really popular list floating around right now on Magic Online, pioneered by Hello Newton. And that list does not have Nettle Sentinel in the deck. It actually has Elvish Reclaimer instead. We kind of get to see one of the advantages to Nettle Sentinel here. If we find something like maybe Heritage Druid, we'll be able to generate infinite mana as each, not infinite mana, but a large amount of mana for sure, as each green creature that we cast will untap our Nettle Sentinels and allow us to cast more Shepherds into more mana, into more this, into more that.
You're right. At this point, without having it found a Heritage Druid, we are pretty reliant on those Nettle Sentinels to generate mana through Birch Lore, which is the relatively inefficient way of doing it, but is good enough. We see a Zenith here there is a Heritage Druid, so now the mana will really explode. But again, it's all about cards right now. It's not about mana. The remaining Assassin's Trophy is all that's being drawn to, really.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what else here is going to be pretty relevant. Oh, if we find another Glimpse of Nature, then we can double up on the card drawing ability. Visionary, he's going to be pretty good here. 2 mana, draw 2 is every Control player's dream. So shout out to the Draw a Card squad. Hope you're living the life here. Second Gaia's Cradle coming into play is going to tap for a bajillion D mana.
And then, this Visionary is not draw 2 once. It's draw 2 for each symbiote in play. So that should allow, a significant trip into the deck. And you're right, like drawing another Glimpse is going to be important. As deep as this deck can go, and as many cards as we're drawing, we are going to eventually accumulate a fair number of lands in hand. So a second Glimpse to get through the gluts of lands in the deck is kind of a requirement. Although maybe Symbiotes plus Visionaries can bridge us past all of it, but it's tough without a second Glimpse, I would imagine, to get through the whole deck.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what's the exact fail case here. Like maybe if Assassin's Trophy is literally the last card in the deck, and then you end up, maybe drawing some sort of stuff. Oh, I guess if you have Green Sun Zenith, but there's Rest in Peace, so that Rest in Peace stops the Green Sun Zenith looping.
Does it? Does Green Sun? No, I don't think Green Sun goes to the graveyard.
Yeah, maybe. No, you're right. You're right. Okay, yeah.
So that's not something to worry about. So yeah, there's no risk of decking, which is kind of unfair. I was numerous times in my life I felt like that was unreasonable that Elves could do all this stuff and then have no risk of decking just because they can Zenith infinite times.
Yeah. This is kind of incredible, though. Adam has drawn almost half his deck, and we still haven't seen a second glimpse of nature. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he has enough gas in his hand that he doesn't actually want to cast a second glimpse of nature. Should something really weird happen? Ooh.
Whoa,
bam.
okay. Well, that interestingly, if we fail, we now don't die.
That's great. Well, barring certain top decks, but yeah.
Sure.
But definitely a sigh of relief for the green mage here.
So to recap, I'm seeing in the chat some questions about the deck because this has been going on for a while. There is not a reclamation stage in the deck list, so we are in fact we believe, drawing to only one copy of Assassin's Trophy and nothing else. There is a Craterhoof Behemoth, which in this case is actually 8 mana, draw a card.
You know, when you really want to do it, I mean, the greatness at any cost. I'll leave it at that. And I can't even tell you how much power and toughness is on the board right now. I'm pretty sure it's
lethal.
Okay, good enough for me, I guess. Yeah. Is it over? I'm kind of.
It's more than Muxus plus Piledriver, and that's all we need to worry about.
Yeah. I kind of curious what the most damage ever done with Craterhoof is. You know, like after you know you're dead, sometimes you let your opponent showboat. What's the highest amount? Does it like get exponential if you have like multiple Craterhoofs or something?
Well, something that's interesting is this is probably a very unusual case where Craterhoof is cast and then many more spells are cast afterwards.
Yeah,
it doesn't just end the game.
But with 12 cards in hand and access to just oodles and noodles of mana, like keep in mind that Gaia's Cradle still has yet to be tapped, right? It's going to be one of the best Gaia's Cradles I've ever seen at producing mana. So we're probably just trying to go for the kill here. I can't imagine, like at this point we're just going because we can.
Right. No, I don't buy the theory that there's another glimpse in hand. I don't think that makes any sense. I think we're just, because of the inability to be decked, again, because Green Sun Zenith means that we can cast those and they'll shuffle back in, so we can't actually get decked. So there is the trophy, this time going after the energy field.
Yep.
And then because the Rest in Peace Helm by themselves aren't doing anything at the moment, and we want the game to end this turn. Actually, good thing that the Collector Hoof actually, because the land from the trophy, the Helm could actually activate right now.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't win the game really because there's no draw on the stack, but that's kind of an interesting dynamic that I didn't think about beforehand. And then here comes the 2-card attack for approximately 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, only 50, but whatever.
What's really interesting here, though, is I think we actually had to have the Collector Oop in play before we could find the Assassin's Trophy, because if we didn't find something like Craterhoof, like if we didn't have Craterhoof already in play, then there's a weird world where as we keep going on to find the rest of our combo, they could like activate the Rip Helm combo with the extra piece of mana, and then the Glimpse trigger would cause a lot of issues there.
That's true. Okay, so we're looking at the sideboarding here for the Jeskai control. Narset looks like he didn't come in, but it looks like it's making his way in now, as it does stop both Glimpse of Nature and the Elvish Visionary, and that game win was the result of those 2 cards.
Yep.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Deafening Silence also could come in. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't interact with creatures, does it?
Yeah, Deafening Silence is on the Elves side for this one. I think Mentor might be another consideration, just in case you want to... knowing that Adam only has 2 copies of Assassin's Trophy is kind of a big deal. It does make Monastery Mentor a little bit better because you're very likely to untap with it. That being said, it's not 100% sure. Yeah,
can we bring up the Elves deck for just a moment?
Sure.
I know that I already posted the list in the chat, but just for anyone that's not doing that, just so we can look at actually what's here. So we do have the 2 trophies, and we do have a Progenitus this time. That's not going to matter too much here, I wouldn't think. 2 Thoughtseize. Okay, so yeah, we really don't have a lot of tools here.
Yeah, I think this might be one of the decks that is like more geared towards beating Rug Delver than other decks. We see 2 copies of Fatal Push in the sideboard, for example. Mm-hmm. But bang, bang, this looks like a pretty solid start for Zack. We've got Rest in Peace and Energy Field in our hand already. We don't have the white mana to cast the Rest in Peace, but we have tools to, get further into our deck and brainstorm. And also we've got Engineered Explosives to maybe slow down the pace of the game by a little bit. Yeah.
Although if we're going to have the capability of casting one of these cards and not the other one, Rest in Peace is definitely the one we want to get in play first. So as the energy field cannot be played really until the energy field or the Rest in Peace is down. Otherwise, something as simple as casting your own Brainstorm will break the energy field up.
Yeah. Casting a Brainstorm, fetching. If a card goes into the graveyard from anywhere, energy field gets sacrificed. Okay.
Well, we have a decent development here from the Elf side, and Explosives is going to be a bit of a setback. It's only going to kill the Wired Symbiote, but it will slow things down.
Yeah. And this is kind of interesting. We're seeing that Zack is playing this Explosives extremely patiently. I think he's trying to get as much value as possible from it. And, I mean, with open deck lists, this is not going to be a secret to Adam. Adam is going to... We've seen how he's deployed it, right? He has yet to put himself in a position where he can lose more than one card from a sweeper.
Oh. Is Rest in Peace Energy Field Meddling Mage a hard lock?
Actually, you're right. It is.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to beat that, unless some removal came in, but I can't imagine that happened.
Yeah, Fatal Push against the creatureless combo deck or whatever it is.
Maybe if you're really worried about Mentor, but I really don't see that happening. Yeah. So there's again, no white mana, so we're not casting either one of those cards, but as soon as it shows up, we're in good shape here on Jeskai's side.
Yeah, honestly, like, even if we get to find a white source next turn, like if we Brainstorm end step, hit a white source, we go Meddling Mage, name Trophy, and then slam the energy field, and then play Rest in Peace the turn after, and that's kind of a lock. That's crazy, though. The Wirewood Symbiote actually... No, so the Glimpse of Nature actually resolves here. What do you think that means?
I think it means that we want the Explosives to be available more so than we want to potentially force this. Now, whether that's right or not, I think that's obviously the choice that was made, and it's a little worrisome. I don't know how long you can wait on this.
Gaia's Cradle would be really scary here. What's the land drop for the turn, Adam? What you got? Yeah, I mean, there's also a way of thinking about it, which is... there's the Gaia's Cradle, yeah. I feel like there's a meme here somewhere where you one does not cast Glimpse without having the Gaia's Cradle or something like that, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, sometimes, I don't know, like a noted Elves player, I was actually reading Julian Knob's tournament report from the Bazaar Moxon 7 years ago this morning, and he talked about playing Glimpse early and often. Just burn it off. If it's simply a cantrip or draw 2, that's totally fine. Just don't let it rot in your hand. And maybe that's what we're seeing here, but we're doing some work. We're short in mana. We don't have a way to generate excess mana, but those cards could come, and I guess we're waiting on Explosives for that, which is okay.
Might be the case. Heritage Druid here would keep the chain going for sure. But playing something like the Elvish Visionary again means... Is that it? Oh, there's still the Dryad Arbor that can tap for mana.
There's still one more mana, yeah.
Both of the symbiotes have been used now. I didn't keep track of the Quarian Ranger. I should have, but I guess that doesn't really do much. There's not a forest. Oh no, we used the Quarian Ranger already.
Okay, so there is a Heritage Druid. So Explosives. So if Explosives had blown there, it would have been the end of the turn.
Yeah, actually, it would have. So I wonder if that may be the difference between a win and a loss here. We'll see what happens. All right, so here comes... Is this maybe a Zenith coming down? I guess from this point, it's basically we just want to keep the chain going, and the bottleneck is what now? Mana?
It's been mana. Yeah, it's been mana almost the whole time.
Yeah. There's nothing like crop rotation in this deck list to potentially get another copy of Gaia's Cradle. I know that one used to see play back in the day.
Right, yeah, a long time ago, yeah. So Adams certainly had a pretty decent turn here. We're not looking like we're going to be able to win the game, but actually, maybe this generates a lot more mana now, because this will re-enable the Heritage Druid to go off for the turn.
Yep. We can bounce the Dryad Arbor potentially and untap an Elf.
And that will generate 3 more mana.
It looks like Zack is putting his thinking hat on. He's thinking, what if I crack the Explosives now?
Right. Yeah.
This is the most patient Explosives I've seen.
This is a pretty stunning turn too, where how many? Well, the storm is like 10 right now, and we
it really is ridiculous.
We attacked for 1 damage, but the explosives got burned, and given that there's 11 cards in hand, we are very likely looking to be quite strong next turn on Adam Wallace's side. And really, I guess if we draw the white land, we can slam down Recipes and Energy Field both. But even then, what do we actually? You know what? If the white land is drawn here, I think that the right play is likely going to be okay. We didn't get it. Would have likely been Energy Field plus Meddling Mage.
Yeah, 100%. I think that would be a hard lock.
Yeah, and then Rest in Peace the following turn, but it didn't come. So we'll see what this Brainstorm can do. There's the white mana. In fact, there's 2 of them. So
this is tricky.
Yeah.
This could just be one of the turns where you maybe like put the Energy Field out there, and just say, hey, you know what? Maybe I get to untap. But I have to imagine that Adam's hand is pretty stacked, maybe with another Glimpse of Nature, another Gaia's Cradle, Natural Order, some assortment of ways to guarantee the kill on the untap. So the question is what do we do from Zack's side? Do you potentially play out the Meddling Mage here for some scary Natural Order style threat, or do you play the lottery again? Because we saw, Zack was definitely willing to gamble here with how patient he was with the engineered explosives.
I think so. The reason to play Meddling Mage was to try and prevent getting killed. Energy Field does the same thing. So I think I would just go with the Energy Field because that requires a more specific response.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Not a bad choice. And that way we could also potentially ponder first, maybe dig for a Force of Will on something like Assassin's Trophy, and then hitting a glimpse or something.
That doesn't actually work. Force protecting Energy Field, that's the insidious part of Energy Field, doesn't actually do anything.
You're right.
It dies anyway. So, really, the fact that Assassin's Trophy is not an uncounterable Abrupt Decay has no relevance whatsoever when Energy Field is the only enchantment in play.
True. That's actually a really good point in the chat is being mentioned that Meddling Mage plus Energy Field loses to Thoughtseize.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so it's not even a hard lock there,
right.
But let's see how the game plays out. This is really interesting. It's a very back and forth. Both players see, like at this point, I feel like the blue-white player might be the underdog in this situation. We saw almost 10, 15 cards drawn the last turn by the Elves player.
Yeah, no, I think Elves is a heavy favorite from this point going forward. Mm-hmm. I think it's extremely likely that Elves untaps and wins the game.
Yeah.
As far as I would have said that the lack of Reclamation Stage was very significant, and I still think it is, but it appears it's not going to cost Elves the match, and thus the top 8.
Yeah, that might just be like a function of the metagame, perhaps. Ponder is going to find Rest in Peace, Swords to Plowshares, and Volcanic Island. I wonder if the Swords to Plowshares is enough to maybe sneak out an extra draw step for Zack here. You probably go after...
You go after the Dryad Arbor, right? But, I think that's a better chance than the Energy Field holding up against everything.
Super close.
The Swords takes out 2 mana. I think Swords and Arbor is what I would do here. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'm confident either way, but I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. So Swords here on Dryad Arbor, and definitely want to do it before we get to Adam's main phase, so that the Dryad Arbor and Gaia's Cradle can't be leveraged together to generate extra mana. But this is it, right? We're just on a hope and a prayer here.
And we're not even safe next turn either, because even if we don't die and then we play Rest in Peace Energy Field, then we're in the same spot we were in the last game.
Okay, so there's the Birchler, and that's really interesting because we've played our land for the turn. That means there is no other Gaia's Cradle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I almost wonder, would we have let on Glimpse if we had it? And if so, then what's the play? What are we aiming towards? What's the worst that can happen as each spell gets played from Adam's hand? That means another clue is given about what's left in his hand. Archon of Valor's Reach could still be in the deck. Can that name enchantments and cause a lot of problems for Zack?
I'm sure that it could. There are certainly a pile of enchantments in hand right now, and we saw that Swords of Plowshares just got expended, and we're informed that that's actually what happened in game 1. Is Archon of Valor's Reach shut down enchantments for a long time, and then Supreme Verdict eventually cleared everything up.
Yeah. This is super interesting. Archon of Valor's Reach is a new card that's being seen play in the Elves deck. Wow, we're actually just hard casting it from our hand, which is super cool.
Styling, yeah. So here it is, 5/5, Flying Vigilance, Trample, name a type, and those types are off limits for both players.
Yeah. You can't name creature, but you can name artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker, and it is reciprocal, or symmetric rather, so both players are restricted from casting the chosen spell type.
What a shame for the elf deck, unable to shut themselves off from playing elves.
Yeah. And
real limitation there.
Yeah.
So it does name enchantment, which does wipe out the hand. Zack, Webb's basically almost everything that he's got. Well, there's not lethal damage on the board.
Right.
So that's something.
We can probably hypothesize that Adam doesn't have a natural order in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he probably would have gone for something far more disastrous than this play.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in if you're in Zack's seat, then what do you need to top deck in order to win?
Isn't it always Shark Typhoon?
Oh, okay. Well, you ain't got to say it like that, though, But that's interesting. So Zack actually paused to maybe activate the Hall of Heliod's Generosity, but that doesn't seem very mana efficient this spot.
Zack could have drawn Shark Typhoon for the turn, but that would have just been cycled, and so that would have not actually done anything. But it's okay. I mean, you want to stop and consider your options. Mm-hmm. So we see Green Sun Zenith named on the Meddling Mage here.
That's interesting. That's a pretty good name, actually, given that they didn't have Glimpse last turn, they didn't play Natural Order last turn, so maybe what's in their hand, something that we would need oodles and noodles of mana to cast, which would be maybe exactly... Oh, that would be great if it's just 8
it's
mana.
A Crater Hoof.
Oh, dang. Yeah. And that's going to do it. Crater Hoof, quick maths, is going to do lethal damage, right?
Yeah, so Elves does take that one down and most likely earn a top 8 berth. So good on Adam there. And so we have at least 2 players in the top 8 that we've seen so far. We're going to go ahead and now I believe we're going to take a moment, run me through the schedule again. We're going to go through kind of what we have for you as far as the full series, and then we'll have the top 8 announcement later on. Is that the plan? Okay, so as far as I think we have a slide. I'm not sure. I shouldn't have said that first, but I think we do. There it is. So the NRG Series Online for Autumn 2020. Here is the full deal that we've been spoiling kind of throughout the day.
Yay!
$5,000 cash events on Arena and Magic Online. About every 3 weeks will be alternating formats. Top 8 of each event will be invited to the Arena Qualifier Weekend, which is the same thing that you get to by finishing the monthly rankings on Arena in the top 1,200. Additionally, the winner of each trial wins a buy into the Showdown as well as free entry. Now, the Showdown itself is a $2,500 cash event played on Magic Online. The winner receive an invite to this upcoming set championship. That is the rename. That is effectively a Pro Tour. That is what it is called now, but that is a Pro Tour. So this is actually a PTQ.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the full thing. This is the full smash all the way through. The next trial, or the first one, will be September 13th and is Legacy, and it'll be played on Magic Online, obviously.
Yay.
The other events will be a mixture of Modern and Standard, and the Standard events will be played on Arena, and the Modern events obviously will also be played on Magic Online. So this took some organization to get through. It took several conversations over a period of time with Wizards, as far as, what we could do, what they would be okay with, and this is what it ended up at, and we're very proud of that, and hopefully they'll choose to join us at some of the events. Notably, I want to add that the Season Showdown event is an open invite event. Is an open event. You did not have to qualify through the trials for the Season Showdown. Anyone can play in it. It's just that the winners of the trials get free entry.
Okay. So it is just basically going to be probably a really big PTQ then, which is awesome.
Yes.
More chances to qualify, yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited about this. Hopefully you'll choose to join us at some of those events, and that we're able to offer multiple different formats. If there's questions about that, go ahead and throw them up in the chat. Meantime, here we are waiting for round 7 to play itself out before we get you our top 8 and then play on for the next couple hours. So we'll be joining you throughout the rest of the day, wherever time zone you're at. For me here in California, we're in the afternoon. Actually, for Honor also, I believe.
Yep.
And so this is no problem for us. For Julian, I know we're getting towards nighttime now. Maybe towards the middle of the night at this point, but we'll be here for the next few hours. So, yeah, this is again, we're playing Legacy today. This is our last of our singleton, or that's a poor choice of words, our one of Magic Online events before that series gets going. Again, today's event is not part of that series. That starts in September. But, yeah, so let's see what's going on. Any chats? Okay. Doesn't look like there's too many questions right now. If you have them later on, you can throw them out there. In the meantime, we're going to take a break right now. I was told to expect about 8 minutes, but hopefully it's less than that. Maybe it'll be a little more. If it is, Max apologizes. And we'll see you back in a few minutes with the top 8.